Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. Folks, it's really hard for me to report certain things in our channel on this episode of Ignition Time, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the truth because the truth will set us free. This is a new headline on your screen from CNBC. Almost half of US families with young children face a high risk of poverty due to insecure unemployment. Almost half. Think about that. Almost half of American families with young children could fall into poverty, and this will have lasting effects on how their children will be able to escape the cycle of poverty later in their lives. This on your screen is the cycle of poverty. You can start to see that once a family or a child is in a cycle of poverty, it takes generations, folks. It takes generations to overcome this cycle of poverty because people get trapped. People get trapped in a cycle of poor education, company that doesn't really elevate them, bad company, bad influences, bad social networks. People get trapped in a cycle of disease, debt. People get trapped in a cycle of problems with having children out of wedlock and having problems with having children too early in life, being unable to care for those children, being unable to feed those children. And so this creates a very vicious cycle that is tragic. I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but I am saying that it's tragic and it is very, very, very difficult to be able to get out of. Folks, this is the reality of the world that we live in a country as dynamic, as wealthy as America, where the rich have billions, in some cases trillions, and the poor don't have money to be able to pay for an emergency. The poor don't have money for their next meal, and the homeless die on the streets of COVID, which is what happens. Now, there are policies that can actually help provide jobs, decent wages, and childcare that may indeed reverse those trends. But the fact is, almost half of American families with young children are affected. So what puts these families at risk? According to a study from experts at New York University and Washington University, insecure or precarious work. So folks, 4 indicators were used to measure whether parents were able to work, and they were work schedules, occupation, hourly wages, and weekly work hours. If these elements in a parent's employment status are unstable, children are more likely to experience poverty in later years. This has lasting consequences for children who then mature to become young adults. Now, according to a research article published in the Journal of Child and Family Studies, the early childhood experiences of this young adult generation could have implications for their vulnerability to and resilience with today's precarious job market. In other words, today's precarious job market could lead to an impact that could affect young adults of the future. In fact, the package that the Biden administration is trying to pass is potentially going to help with the federal paid parental leave program and extended monthly child tax credit payments. It's called the Build Back Better program. And according to New York University professor Wen-Hui Huan, who co-authored the study, the professor said this: the data focused on families during economic golden years before the Great Recession more than a decade ago. At that time, people in travel, leisure, entertainment, and hospitality faced pressures to work 24/7, and a lot of industries faced new demands to stay competitive. Now, that actually continues today. And if someone's working a low-wage job, they may have to take 2 or 3 jobs and work 12 to 16 hours a day, according to Han. Han also said, while that trend did reverse a bit during the pandemic, more workers saying no to jobs with low pay and low benefits, this might come back into the picture. We are losing the power on the workers' side to negotiate the kind of wages, the kind of benefits, the kind of schedule we really should have in order to really accommodate our families' needs. Now, a lot of children of these parents actually live in areas of the country where they cannot get access to a good quality education, and this makes it even harder for them to escape the cycle of poverty and find a good job. And so there needs to be policies that help families, specifically young families where the parents don't have job security and they have young children, because we need to be able to support children's needs in their early years. Now, there should be some sort of a guarantee of stable employment for parents so that they are not concerned that they'll get fired during a recession. There should be decent wages and benefits as well as childcare services. So Han said this: income support is really very effective to help our families go through that difficult time where they really need financial support the most. So let me know where you stand with this, folks, because half of US families with young children face a high risk of poverty due to insecure unemployment, due to insecure jobs, and due to the fact that they're not sure if they'll have a steady job or if they'll lose their job. I myself have a 7-year-old boy and a 4-year-old daughter, and I can tell you that the thought of them living in poverty because of me or my wife not having a secure job is something that would keep me up at night. There is no question about that, because when you have young children, this is something that is constantly on your mind. Can I continue to provide for them? Can I make sure they're fed? Can I make sure that they go to a good school? Can I make sure that they're safe? Can I make sure that they're healthy and their mind and their body is staying sharp? And that, folks, is the challenge of the world that we live in, specifically in this very uneven environment scenario that we live in. I did do another video talking about the uneven economic recovery as a direct result of this pandemic. In fact, the latest jobs report provided a lot of conflicting data suggesting that things are getting back to normal, but you know and I know that things are not getting back to normal. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, and let me know whether you or someone you know belongs to this segment of half of American families with young children that face a high risk of poverty due to insecure employment. Are you a family with young children? Are you concerned about an insecurity with your job? Are you concerned that you might lose your job? And are you concerned that it might drive you to poverty? By the way, folks, poverty, the federal standard for poverty is right around the $12,000 mark. If an individual makes less than $12,000 a year, then they essentially are considered poor. So the poverty level, in fact, is a defined standard in our country. And I can tell you that the federal poverty level in the United States of America is such that if an individual makes less than a certain amount of money, they are considered poor. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda, and I can tell you that 11.4% was the poverty rate in the US in the year 2020. And in 2021, for a family or a household of 4 persons living in the United States of America, the poverty guideline, the poverty threshold for a family of 4 people was $26,500. Thank you so much for watching. Please click like, please click subscribe, please enable notifications. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.